Thank you so much for staying with us here on the SportsMax Zone. We continue talking football, and two of the FIFA World Cup favourites were on the brink of elimination at the weekend, but managed to do enough to maintain hopes of a place in the knockout rounds. Four-time champions Germany and two-time winners Argentina both needed to avoid defeat, and they did. Argentina, on the back of a goal and an assist from the little maestro Lionel Messi, beat Mexico 2-0, while Germany got an 83rd minute goal from Niklas Füllkrug to earn a 1-0 draw with Spain. Belgium also dug themselves into a hole following a 2-0 loss to Morocco. From a CONCACAF perspective, Canada is the only team already eliminated, while Costa Rica threw themselves a lifeline by edging Japan 1-0, having scored with their only shot on target. Let's have a look now at Group C, E and F, which will form the basis of our discussions for this segment. Group C, Poland at the top on 4 points, having played 2 matches. Argentina in second. They came from the bottom of the table, let me just remind you. They're now on 3 points. Saudi Arabia in third, 3 points also. And Mexico, they have 1 point. Head across to Group E now. Spain at the top of the table with 4 points. Japan having played 2 matches, so they have 3. Costa Rica 3, and Germany just 1 point and -1 goal difference lands. Group F, Croatia at the top of the table on 4. Morocco right there on 4. They're in second spot. Belgium with 3, and Canada yet to get a point. Well, former Trinidad and Tobago international and 2006 World Cup representative Brent Sancho still with us. Brent, we're starting with Argentina. What a win this weekend.
Yeah, big win. We, of course, saw introduction of players that I thought should have played in the first game. Lo Celso is one in particular, and of course, what they brought to the game. Before we even start talking tactics or who plays what, Mariah, I just thought that the approach from Argentina in terms of their attitude, in terms of their application towards it, was a lot different from the first game that they lost, of course, to the Saudis. So just from that point of view, we saw more from Argentina. And we all knew that despite the little bump in the road, that they still will probably get out of the group. And of course, that is now starting to take form. And it started with this result, which is, as you mentioned, a very, very important result against a very decent Mexico team.
Yeah, and looking at the group that Argentina is drawn, I know you just mentioned that you see them coming out of the group, but Brent, if there's to be an upset, because, you know, the points are just really, really close.
Yeah, it's very close, and I know this World Cup has had its fair share of upsets, but I feel that Argentina would have learned from their mistakes and why they lost the first game. And I think there's way too much talent, quality, and experience within the Argentina locker room to allow themselves to let down, to be let down again. So I expect them to be firing all cylinders and get out of the group. Of course, the fight is for second place, and I think that's where their interest will lie. Of course, Saudi Arabia has been very spirited in their performances. And of course, Mexico, I think, is still moving up in gear. So I think the final, of course, array of games should provide for some very interesting situations.
Your assessment of Lionel Messi's performance on the weekend, it's like he came to life.
Yeah, he came to life, and it's forward. I think this is a standard that Messi has to stay at if Argentina is to go deep into this competition.
And of course, there's pressure for them to win as well, Brent, because they faced Poland in their last game. Poland have not yet conceded a goal, and Argentina this time are the same number of points with Saudi Arabia. So if Argentina don't win and Saudi Arabia beat Mexico, it's Saudi Arabia that will go on. So Argentina must win here.
Yeah, they have to win, and that's the thing about the last grouping of games, that a result, they need this result. I think one of the problems that Argentina has is that they have to bring that level of intensity and application every single game. They cannot afford to switch off any sort of that in their game, because we saw it against Saudi Arabia and it cost them dearly. I don't think they're there yet as a team to switch off. I don't think any team, for that matter, Lance, in this World Cup can't switch any department off, any of the lights off, because you will be beaten. There will be an upset. So Argentina has to play at the energy levels that they played at against Mexico to get a result against a very stubborn and well-organized Polish team.
Yeah, you know what? I saw a report that, as far as I'm concerned, erroneously said that although the Germans are bottom of the table, the point that they got now has their advance in their own hands, which isn't quite true, because no matter how badly they beat Costa Rica, if they beat them, if Japan upsets Spain, Germany are out.
Yeah, Germany, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's where this group has gone on its head. I don't think anybody expected it to go this way. Of course, the goal difference side of it is where I guess that report is coming from. But as it relates right now, and trying to look into this crystal ball, I just think that Japan made a horrendous step. And I think really that result against Costa Rica has cost them the second round, because I just don't think a Spanish team that needs a result is going to allow Japan to upset the apple cart. And of course, a German team that needs a result against Costa Rica is going to play the way that they played against Japan. I just don't see it happening. I know there's been a lot of upsets in this World Cup, but that would be completely against the form guide, and I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that mathematically it's an incorrect statement to say that Germany have their advance in their own hands, but it's virtually true, because I agree with you that I don't see Spain, falling to the Japanese, but it's football. So we'd have to watch that. What about the turnaround for Costa Rica, though? Because they were awful against the Spanish, but somehow came up with a result against the Japanese that, based on their outing against Spain, no one expected them to beat Japan. Or not many people anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right. Especially with the performance that by the Japanese approach. They made 5 changes going into this game.
Yeah.
And you didn't see any reports of any injuries or anything like that. So that was a bit strange for me. And I think because of that, the fluidity of what we saw from Japan against the Germans was completely out the door. They looked very disjointed in their approach and lacked cutting edge in the final third. And I would just wonder if those 5 changes, of course, played into the hands of the Costa Ricans.
Yeah, quickly before we wrap this group, though, because, I've been a German fan for a long time, Brent, and I've not had a lot of faith in this team for the past 2 years. But I wonder about Muller. We spoke about him, because when I saw Muller's performance in 2018 in Russia, I said, they need to move on from Muller. So to see him back in the squad 4 years later, I was pretty despondent. As soon as he was substituted yesterday, Fulkrug, who replaced him, scored. How do you think they will go with the important fixture against Costa Rica, starting with Muller again, or go with a man who is hot?
No, I'm surprised. I'm there with you, Lance. I'm surprised he started. I'm surprised he's back in this World Cup. I would have gone with a bit more movement and mobility up front, and I agree with you. I think changes has to be made for this game against Costa Rica. I get it. Muller has his experience. He has his guile, etc. But I just feel that he would give a little bit more impact coming off the bench since he's there already. I think maybe a bit more change and a bit more mobility up front will help the Germans. I think Muller still, although he works extremely hard, I don't think he gives the German team the focal point that they need to get results. Yeah,
and quickly, I know the Germans are struggling, Brent, but there are a lot of good things about the German team at the moment. They're defending well. I find they win a lot of balls in midfield, tackling and winning balls in midfield. So there are things that are working well for them. They just aren't scoring goals, and you don't win a World Cup without scoring goals. So let's see what happens there. Belgium were wretched over the weekend. Huge disappointment for them. Riots in Brussels, people turning over cars and burning cars and so on. It's clear that they aren't taking that result against the Moroccans well.
Look, Lance, one of the things that made us successful in 2006 is that we had a very good team spirit and camaraderie. When you look at some of the statements coming out of the Belgium camp, something's not right in there. I watched a soundbite by Kevin De Bruyne talking about lowering its expectations coming to train with Belgium, and then of course talked about the age of the team in Belgium, and then of course a rebuttal by Vertonghen about, of course, the age players up front. So look, some of that stuff is crazy. You don't need that in a World Cup, because World Cup is about having a very good team spirit, team bond, and good camaraderie to win games. So I'm not surprised what I'm seeing with the Belgium result, because something is not right within that camp.
Well, they're not out yet. They need to beat Croatia on Thursday, and they'll be okay. So let's see what happens then. But Brent, thanks as usual for talking to us and giving us your expert insight on football. We'll talk again later in the week, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, break time on the zone. Back with more after this.